Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. How to stop Manchester City. That's what most of the football world will be thinking about this morning. And look, whether in life you're trying to solve diseases or every time you go out with your mates you're getting the piss taken out of you because you buy your clothes from Marks and Spencer's, there's always a solution. It might take a long time. How do, let's say, Premier League clubs stop this Manchester City side? They've just won their treble, Champions League, Premier League winners 3 years in a row. They're probably going to win it next year. How do you stop it? And I think there has to be a grown-up conversation about this, because if you're waiting and you're putting your trust in football authorities to do something about 115 charges, you're wasting your time. Never put your faith in UEFA, FIFA, the FA, the Premier League. These people are the reason that there are no UK TV games at 3 o'clock, and there hasn't been for years. These people will look after themselves. I've got no faith in that. And also, how long will it take to happen anyway? The best way for the Arsenals, the Liverpools, the Juventus, the Real Madrid, whoever, to stop Manchester City is to come up with a plan that they're in control of. And that is the way, that's the simple starting point. This Man City side, I think, wins the Premier League next year. You've got to put them as favourite for the Champions League, and it's about how much they can be asked to win the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. So I don't think anything's going to stop. I don't think Pep's going to go anywhere. They are on a mission to do it again, because a double treble, or whatever you want to call it, could be a quadruple. You've always got to go for the next thing. And I fear that actually Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea, Newcastle could actually make it easier for Man City next season by devouring each other. You know, I think that they may all improve, but that improvement means that they beat each other and allow Man City to just walk away with it again. It's a very, very hard thing to stop when it's a very well constructed plan that's been going on for over a decade. Manchester City was purchased in 2008. They didn't really get it right until about 2012. So they've had 10 years of getting it right. And obviously bringing Pep in has been, you know, the icing on the cake. They'd won titles without Pep, but then they brought the best manager in the world, who's obsessive, who has worked on the style of play and has evolved the team gradually. I mean, look, taking it in its very simple sense, how did Manchester City win the treble? Well, they took a Premier League side that had won 2 Premier Leagues in a row and added the best striker in the game. It's not rocket science. I mean, literally, they can just go out each summer now and add 1 or 2 players to a squad of 15 or 16 that is better than everybody else's, and they've got the better manager and they've got the experience. So, and one thing that just gets completely dismissed about Man City is that they're very hard to score against as well. They can score goals for fun, but they don't concede many either. So, as we saw with Inter in the Champions League final, I thought Inter played well, but they couldn't score. And that Man City side is the blueprint of success. You're going to need money to do it. You're going to need money. Whether you're Arsenal trying to go to that next step, United go to the next step, Newcastle have the money, Liverpool, you need 16, 17 players that can play well 9 times out of 10. I was talking about this on the United stand this morning. There's a lot of good players at Arsenal. There's a lot of good players at Liverpool and Man United. But the reality is, Man City's great strength is they've got 16 players that could play for most of those first teams of the rivals. And all of them will give you at least 8 games out of 10 where they're playing above average. I look at United, I look at Arsenal, I look at Liverpool last season. And they have got good players, but if you take even Bruno Fernandes, you can't guarantee you 8 good games out of 10. 6 or 7, and then he might have 3 where he's tired or he's not quite at the races. That is the difference. And nobody's saying Bruno Fernandes is a bad player, and nobody's saying that, you know, Ben White's a bad player or anything like that. But Man City are full of players that will just play well 9 times out of 10. And that consistency is how you win a Premier League. It's how you get deep into a Champions League. Professionalism and quality and quantity is what Pep has thrived upon. And that is what you need. But to do that, you're going to need money. And the one thing I will sympathise with Man City is they don't seem to get it. Their fans don't seem to understand this. And even Newcastle fans don't seem to get it. It's actually a compliment, but they don't want to take it. And the compliment is that Newcastle were going to get relegated. If they didn't get taken over by Saudi Arabia, they could have been relegated, and they definitely wouldn't be in the Champions League a year later. They're in the Champions League a year later because they're rich. Manchester City have just won a treble. They've just won 3 Premier Leagues in a row. They wouldn't even be in the Champions League if they hadn't been bought by Abu Dhabi. So there's a factor there. It's money. Now you're going to get in the comments Man City and Newcastle fans who get extremely defensive about this and say, wow, Man United have spent more money than you. The way that Newcastle and Man City are spending the money is well. They've got good people who know what they're on about and they're spending it well. But if they don't have the money, you can't spend it well. So I don't really understand that argument, really, because nobody is saying that Man United haven't spent money or other clubs haven't spent money, but Man City and Newcastle wouldn't be anywhere near where they are if they didn't have the money. You wouldn't have Haaland, you wouldn't have Pep, you just wouldn't have it. You've spent it well, but you've needed the money. Without the money, you're nowhere. But Man United are one of the oldest football institutions in the world, and they generate lots and lots of money. If you want to go down that road, where's your money coming from? But ultimately, if you want to catch Man City, you need the money. And Newcastle are probably the closest to doing that at the moment because they're following the blueprint. So Man City and Newcastle fans just need to chill out and own it. You are where you are because of money. But if anyone wants to be there, they need money as well. It's not a Newcastle and Man City problem. It's a football problem. If you want to win things now, you need money. That's it. That's what football is. It's not about Leicester winning the league anymore. That's not going to happen. That will not happen again. You will not get a team that... And look, Leicester had some money. I mean, it's not to the level that Newcastle and Man City have got, but you're not going to get an underdog winning the Premier League again. That won't happen. Never say never, I know, but it won't happen. Football's moved on. Morals may be gone from football, but if you haven't got wealth, and I mean super wealth, it's not going to happen. Villa have got a lot of money. They'll spend money this summer. They might fight for the top 6, but they won't win the league because they won't be able to get the elite professional players that will go to the Man Cities, eventually the Newcastles, maybe the Liverpools, etc. So there is a small window of time for Liverpool, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester United, Chelsea, maybe Spurs, to acquire super wealth and join the club. Because at the moment, Newcastle and Man City are the 2 clubs that really are going to hold those spots for the next 10 years because they have that super wealth. It's who's going to join that club next. Now, it could be, when you look at it, Man City and Newcastle are not really traditional top 6 clubs, but they are now. So the next one to join could be a West Ham, could be an Aston Villa. It could be one of those if they get that sort of wealth. But if you're a Liverpool fan, an Arsenal fan, a Spurs fan, a Man United fan, then you need that super wealth. Chelsea's wealth confuses me. Are they in the category of Man City and Newcastle? They're just badly run. And there's an example for Man City fans of how you can have the money, but you can get it wrong. Man City and Newcastle at the moment have the money and they're doing really well with it. That's the second point. You need the money. You also need to know what you're doing with it. You've got to recruit the best director of football, the best CEO, the best recruitment team, the best fitness team, the best development team, the best youth team. Look at Man City. They don't pick up many injuries, yet they play loads of games. That's down to Pep, that's down to the fitness department, the way they rotate. It's having 16 players really that are good enough to start every week and you rotate them in and out. So you need the money, you need the infrastructure, and then you need the squad. And that's the most important thing. If you look at Inter Milan last night, they can't really take a midfielder off. They don't really have a midfielder that can come on and make them better. Man City can lose Kevin De Bruyne for injury in the first half, bring Phil Foden on, and it barely makes a difference. That is what you need as well. So you need the money, you need the infrastructure, and then you need the 16, 17 players that really you can rotate in and out. Because if Arsenal had that last year, maybe they do win the league. And that's simply what you need. The Man City blueprint to success is not a fairy tale, unless you're a Man City fan. It's methodical. It can be followed. There is, pardon the pun, a blueprint. And that is what you need to do. And that is what football is. And whether you like it or not, that is how you do it. Man City's story is not hidden in secrecy. It's basically pick a football club up that wasn't really doing anything and turn it into the greatest football club in the world in 15 years. I actually think Newcastle could do it in somewhere between 5 and 10. because they're doing it quicker. And I think somebody else that comes in next, they could do it in 5. So, you know, I think Man City have took 13 years to do this, 15 years to do this. I think you can do it quicker. But in the short term, I think Man City dominate the modern game. But you know what? It's like your neighbour having a mansion, right? And you live in a bungalow. If you've got the money, you can build a better mansion, but you won't have it tomorrow. It will probably take 2 or 3 years to build something bigger and better, because you've got to plan it out, you've got to book all the contractors in, and then you've got to build it. If people don't start doing that today, then that mansion's going to be better than yours for the next decade. You will not stop Man City tomorrow. You've got to start putting the plans in now. And if these football clubs think, like Liverpool, that they're going to do it because Jurgen Klopp's a genius, he might do 1 year, he might do 2, but where are Liverpool now? If you want to be consistent, and that's what Man City are, money, infrastructure, and future planning. All those 3 things are how you stop Man City. And even then, you've got to hope that Man City haven't got the best manager and better players than you, because their recruitment could still be better than you. But to make it a level playing field, that's the way to go. The morality of that, I wouldn't even argue about it. That door was bolted 10 years ago. Like, talking about you want to do it the right way. There's no such thing as the right way. The right way is this, you know, old-fashioned, we don't want mega wealth. Well, if you don't want mega wealth, you don't want trophies. We're not responsible for what's happened to football. Man City are not responsible. Newcastle are not responsible. The powers that have the UEFA, the FIFAs, the Premier League, they're responsible for that. They allowed it. They knew what was happening. They opened the door, and they're probably earning good money from it as well. This is not on the clubs, and it's not on the fans. If you want to win things, Man City have shown you can buy it all. That's how you do football now. That's how you stop it. That's how you get involved in it. But to do it, you're going to need a lot of money. Get your comments in below. You might have different opinions. Smash a like. Make sure you subscribe. I'll speak to you on the next one.